Good?
Yep.
So we have kind of a change of scenery. I figured you might be able to see the cats better. So let me know if you like it better or worse. So I'm going to tell you about the narrative of the life of Fredrick Douglas. Have you read it?
I have not.
So I did the Beloved review, and I didn't really care for the book. And I had two people give me some constructive criticism of the book. And it occurred to me afterwards that I almost basically didn't talk about slavery.
Okay.
Even though it permeates through like every facet of the book. It didn't really change my opinion of the book, except it did give me a very good idea of where my perception is coming from. The second thing is, I just recently watched the Dave Chappelle special on Netflix, Sticks and Stones, and at the end of the special, there was a question and answer session, and someone in the audience asked Dave Chappelle what was his favorite book, and he said this book.
Cool.
So anyway, I read it for the first time. I know who Fredrick Douglass is. And the story is Fredrick Douglass was born a slave, and he talks about his experiences, and he kind of famously escaped slavery.
Became like, he learned how to read and everything, right? And became a scholar.
Yeah. And it was one of the most powerful books. I mean, it was an incredible reading experience. A lot of the kind of the savagery and purposeful tactics to make black people feel like they're not human. He goes through in like great detail things like he didn't know who his mother was, he didn't know who his father was, he didn't know his birthday.
It's crazy.
These are things that they just purposefully keep away. Doesn't know like his name. Really, really powerful. He, for me personally, it was very eerie that all of this happened in Maryland.
Yeah.
And I live in Maryland. And this was like going on, he's writing like around like the 1850s.
So within the past couple centuries.
And within the past couple generations.
Sure.
So for him to be talking about areas that I'm familiar with, and to know that, like, not that I know any of these like, personally, but there's landowners around here that their great grandfathers had slaves, and these are like descendants that are just a couple generations away.
Yeah, that's
really,
kind of crazy.
Struck a chord with me.
Yeah, like that's really recent history.
Really recent.
To the point where you could remember the names of your grandfather and easily find out their,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that made this book so powerful is the way in which he's conveying the story. And I really got a sense that Fredrick Douglass had the perspicacity to recognize that his story would not be as powerful if it was told through the lens of bitterness. So it's an incredibly compassionate book towards the people, the other slaves that he's interacting with, but also his masters, like the slave owners. Um, he's
Does he take, like, is it an objective viewpoint? You think, is he just telling a story? Like,
it's very frank.
Okay.
He's not. It seems like he's not going out of his way to editorialize and kind of dress people down. Like, all he has to do is just say what happened, and that's good enough. Like, purposefully, these slave owners that are purposely starving people and not clothing them. You get like one shirt, one pair of pants for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like a laundry list of like all the different reasons that you can get whipped for, which was basically everything. So he didn't have to give anything extra. He could just say that this was what's happening.
Bare bones facts are shocking enough. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like he talked about some of the kindnesses that he had received, which
Kindness is in the light of all the shit that he was dealing with, right?
I think it says so much more about him.
Sure.
Like he's definitely not saying like, well, this person was a good person and this one was a bad person. It was showing like his level of like moral intelligence, like just being above like throwing dirt around or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which really insightful. And I was reading this as if it was like a gospel, like it was a story that anyone could read to show like kind of no matter what circumstances you're under, like you still can have ethics, morals. You can have aspirations. You can achieve those aspirations, because he's incredibly intelligent, but also like emotionally intelligent, morally intelligent, incredibly incredibly well written, and like I think about like my own life, like
yeah.
Like for me, growing up, everyone surrounding me is encouraging me to learn.
Mm-hmm.
My parents,
taking care of you.
taking care of me. Like you go to school and they like people want you to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did fine. Like I went through and graduated high school and college, but to think like I'm still like only like mildly intelligent, like middle of the road.
I was gonna say, yeah, it sounds like what you're describing as an exceptional human being.
Yeah, he
Where,
didn't
like,
learn how to read or write until he was a teenager.
Yeah. So like not only was he smart, but he was also, I would say he's like, I don't even know the statistics on how many escaped slaves became successful. But he was able to like overcome literally having all of the odds stacked against him and make a he was an exceptional human being.
I love reading about like like he learned at some point that like knowledge was the key.
Mm-hmm.
He had to learn, and everyone around him, like the slave owners, went out of their way to keep the slaves like as in the dark as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want them reading or writing. They don't want them to know their birthdays. There was a part about between Christmas and New Year's they would have like holiday, so it was like an extended period where they didn't have to work, and the slave owners were just trying to fill them up on booze.
Hmm.
Not because it's a fun festive thing to do.
Just kill any.
Just to keep them in a drunken stupor, instead of having productive time.
Yeah, where they could sit and like think and.
Yeah, he talks about like the slave owners would come up with games like who can drink the most without getting sick. It's like insidious.
Mm-hmm. Just like trying to rip away their own culture and everything and implement their own that suits whatever means they want.
Try their best to get rid of their culture and really like their humanity, like the level of like hatred. I mean, what am I going to say? But it's just unnerving. Like, really, really, really tough. I'm so glad that I read it. It really is like a very, very powerful book. And I think that's pretty good. What do you think? Do you have any thoughts or?
I don't have much insight into that book. I haven't read it, but it kind of makes me want to, because Fredrick Douglas is definitely a name that I've known, but only in significance that I grew up in Maryland too. And,
right. Yeah, I've never read anything by him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know kind of his history. He's like an abolitionist. Like I want to maybe buy like a collection of, because he wrote a bunch of stuff. Like
sure.
Maybe a collection of his essays. Really, really glad that I read it. And I think it's pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
One wonderful, powerful, really touching book. And like a hope for humanity. The idea that like no matter what's stacked against you, like you can pursue anything that you want. So that's it. Leave a comment if you'd like. It's The Narrative of the Life of Fredrick Douglass by Fredrick Douglass. Thank you. Thank you for watching.